Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana. Your Excellency For Ezezima Yasingbe, Président du Conseil de Togo. Honorable Ministers, our esteemed traditional leaders, our brothers and sisters from the diaspora, allow me to stand on the protocols established. I have the honor to address this distinguished gathering on behalf of His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Youssouf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, and to convey his warm greetings and sincere appreciation to the government and people of the Republic of Ghana for convening this important Accra-Diaspora Summit. Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to recognize at the outset the valuable custodianship of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic, as the Africa Union leader on advancing the cause of justice and payment of reparations to Africans. Your convening this conference comes at a moment of historic consequence for Africa and people of African descent worldwide. It takes place under the African Union's Theme of the Year for 2025, Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations, as designated by the Assembly Decision 884 and reinforced by subsequent Assembly decisions mandating coordinated system-wide implementation across African Union architecture. Over the course of this year, the African Union has moved decisively from declaration to action. The Year of Justice and Reparations has not been only symbolic. It has been operational, institutional, and increasingly global in its reach. Guided by Assembly Decisions 903, 913, and 934, the Union has laid firm foundations for a reparatory justice agenda that is anchored in law, policy, culture, and development, and that speaks with one African voice. Your Excellencies, distinguished audience, as we meet today, we are making history simultaneously in Accra and Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The African Union has made tangible progress in institutional development related to justice and reparations through the establishment of the Assembly-mandated Committee of Experts on Reparations and a reference group of legal experts. Yesterday, the committee concluded its inception meeting adopting forward-looking conclusions. Today, the legal experts start their critical shift towards operationalizing reparatory justice beyond advocacy into implementation. At the political and diplomatic levels, the Year of Justice and Reparations has been characterized by sustained agenda setting and global advocacy. The African Union has actively shaped international discourse through high-level engagements, including Africa Day commemorations, United Nations platforms, and multilateral dialogues addressing racial justice, historical accountability, and the impact of emerging technologies on inequality. Africa's call for justice has been consistently articulated as forward-looking, constructive, and anchored in international law. Central to these achievements has been the African Union's strengthened partnership with the African diaspora. The AU-CARICOM partnership was reinforced through a memorandum of understanding between the two secretariats last year. This year, the second Africa-CARICOM Summit on September 7, the first one to meet in person, adopted the Addis Ababa Declaration on Transcontinental Partnership for Reparatory Justice. This has elevated Africa-Diaspora collaboration to an unprecedented level. The 9th Pan-African Congress, successfully held in Lomé, December 8 to 12, further underscores the Union's commitment to institutionalize diaspora participation in shaping Africa's global agenda. And here we appreciate that President Faure hosted this meeting in Togo along with the people and government of Togo. The Algiers International Conference on the Crimes of Colonialism in Africa, held from November 30th to December 1, was yet another milestone in agenda setting and advocacy. As we progress in pursuing our agenda forward internationally, we have also exerted extraneous effort to reinforce our in-house coordination through the Citizen and Diaspora Directorate. We have established a dedicated mechanism to enable system-wide alignment across AU organs, regional economic communities, AU human rights bodies, and member states, ensuring that reparatory justice is no longer treated as a standalone theme, but as a cross-cutting continental priority. Equally important has been embarking on the process of the formal designation of reparations related to transatlantic enslavement, colonialism, and apartheid as a flagship issue of the African Union. This will allow reparatory justice to be mainstreamed into the African Union's strategic planning processes, including the final review of the AU Commission Strategic Plan 2024-2028 and the upcoming 2027 budget cycle. In practical terms, this means that reparations are now embedded in Africa's long-term development and governance agenda, in line with the aspirations of Africa's Agenda 2063. It is against this backdrop of concrete progress that the Accra Diaspora Conference assumes particular significance. The conference's program mirrors, in many respects, the trajectory of the African Union's work during this year. The emphasis on historical truth, healing, and reparative justice resonates strongly with the AU's advocacy for recognition of transatlantic slavery, deportation, and colonization as crimes against humanity and acts of genocide against African peoples. At the same time, the conference rightfully advocates and advances the conversation towards economic justice and structural transformation. Sessions on leveraging the African diaspora to advance the African continental free trade, on diaspora investment instruments, and on sectoral opportunities across agriculture, energy, finance, education, tourism, culture, and the creative economy reflect the African Union's conviction that reparations must be transformative not transactional. Justice in this sense must translate into ownership, opportunity, and shared prosperity. I recall here that we organized earlier this month in Djibouti a workshop on transcontinental comparative review for Africa-Diaspora and migrant communities, which aimed at the economic and socio-logical mapping reinforced by evidence and data, which are necessary for more effective engagement between the continent and its diaspora. The African Union also warmly welcomes the conference's focus on youth, innovation, and digital economy. The Commission continues to engage youth in consultations and youth-led dialogues on reparatory justice, one of which was held in Accra in July this year as part of the 13th High-Level Dialogue on Human Rights, Democracy, and Governance. These efforts affirm a central principle of the AU's approach that reparative justice must be intergenerational, equipping Africa's youth and diaspora youth with the tools, skills, and digital capacities to shape the future they inherit. Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the achievements of this year demonstrate that Africa is no longer merely asking for justice. Africa is organizing for justice. Through institutional reform, strategic partnerships, and coordinated advocacy, the African Union has laid the groundwork for a sustained and credible reparations agenda. We will continue to address the remaining tasks, particularly in institutional capacity, financing, and national-level implementation. Addressing these gaps will require sustained political leadership, deeper member state engagement, and continued partnership with the diaspora. In this regard, the Accra Diaspora Conference is not an isolated event. It is critical building block, a very critical building block at that, in a continental and global process. It offers an opportunity to align national initiatives, diaspora strategies, and AU frameworks into a coherent architecture for justice, unity, and development. On behalf of the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, I commend the government and the people of Ghana for its leadership, vision, and unwavering commitment to Africa-Diaspora unity. I encourage all participants to approach this summit with ambition and purpose so that its outcomes contribute meaningfully to advancing reparative justice, strengthening Africa-Diaspora bonds, and realizing the aspirations of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. This is the message of Mahmoud, His Excellency Mahmoud, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. I wish you fruitful deliberations and a very successful summit. Thank you for your attention.